Today we are reviewing Chapter 2, Rational Numbers. So we're going to start with just practicing ordering and changing rational numbers from fractions and decimals. Okay, so let me get my pen here. Okay, so for this first one, it says write the rational numbers as a decimal. I have -7 and 3/8. I'm going to keep the -7 as -7. I'm going to go ahead and just put a decimal next to it. And then I'm going to change the 3/8 part. So numerator goes on the inside, 3. 8 goes on the outside. Okay, 8 does not go into 3 evenly. Okay, so I'm adding a 0 and a decimal and 3 and a 0. Okay, 8 does go into 30. It goes in 3 times. 3 times 8 is 24. 30 minus 24 is 6. We need to keep going until either we have a 0 as a remainder or we have a pattern. Okay, so 8 goes into 67 times. 7 times 8 is 56. 60 minus 56 is 4. Add a 0, bring it down. 8 goes into 45 times. So my decimal was 0.375, which means my rational number is -7 from our mixed number, 0.375. Now, if I wanted to, I could have changed -7 and 3/8 into an improper fraction and then made that as a decimal, and it would have given me the same answer. Okay, the next one I have is 3/11. So 3, again, that numerator goes on the inside. 11 goes on the outside. 11 does not go into 3 a whole number of times. So I'm going to add a decimal and a 0 and a 0 and a decimal. 11 does go into 32 times. 2 times 11 is 22. 30 minus 22 is 8. Add a 0, bring it down. 11 goes into 87 times. 7 times 11 is 77. Okay, 80 minus 77 is 3. And then 11 goes into 32 times. But if I notice, if I start to write my 2 here, I'm going to have a pattern. 2, 7, 2, 7, and so on. So instead of writing that 2, I'm actually just going to write this line above both the 2 and the 7 to show that both of those numbers are being repeated. Okay. Number 2, order the numbers from least to greatest. So some of them are decimals, some of them are fractions. The easiest way to order them is to make them all into decimals and then order least to greatest. So I'm going to start here with this -8/5. So I'm going to do my work over here. My -8 is going to go on the inside. My 5 is going to go on the outside. Numerator goes on the inside. My answer is going to be negative because it's negative here. So I'm going to just write negative in front. Okay, 5 goes into 8 once. 1 times 5 is 5. 8 minus 5 is 3. I'm going to add a decimal, add a decimal, add a 0. Bring it down. Okay, 5 goes into 36 times. 6 times 5 is 30. 30 minus 30 is 0. Okay, I'm done with this one because I had a 0 as a remainder. So above that -8/5, I'm just going to write in our decimal, -1 6/10. Okay, and then I have 1/4. Now 1/4 is what I like to call a benchmark fraction. It's one you might already know the decimal for, which is great. I'm going to go ahead and do the work for showing how to get it if you don't know what the decimal is. So 4 does not go into 1 a whole number of times. So I'm going to put a 0 and a decimal and a decimal and a 0. 4 goes into 10 twice. 2 times 4 is 8. 10 minus 8 is 2. Add a 0, bring it down. Okay, 4 goes into 25 times. 5 times 4 is 20. Okay, so 1/4 is 25 hundredths. Okay, so now that I have everything in decimal form, I'm ready to order least to greatest. So for my negatives, I need to decide from -1 and 4/10, -1 and 6/10, -1 and 9/10, which one is the lowest value. And that would be which one is farthest away from 0. So if I was thinking about them as positive numbers, 0 would be the smallest, then 1. And then comparing the ones that are 1 point something, 6 would be bigger than 4. 6/10 would be bigger than 4/10. But since it's negative, it's all backwards. The bigger the number is means it's farther away from 0. So I'm going to have -1 and 6/10 be my lowest value. It is the farthest away from 0 of my 3 negative numbers. Then I have -1 and 4/10. Then I have -9/10. Now I have to compare my positive numbers. You don't want to think about this as 25 and 6. You want to compare the place values. So the zeros and the ones are the same. So then we look at the tenths. This is 6/10, and this is 2/10. 2/10 is smaller than 6/10. If it helps you, you can rewrite that 6/10 to have the same amount of decimal places. That would be like 60 hundredths. 60 hundredths is more than 25 hundredths. So 25 hundredths is next. And then my 6/10. Now really when we do these types of problems, generally I prefer for you to write the numbers in their original form. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to write them in their original form. I think I'm going to just switch colors here so it stands out a little bit from all my other work. Okay, so this 1.6 was really -8/5. So -8/5, -1 and 4/10, -9/10, 1/4, and 6/10. Okay. Let's look at our next problems. Complete the statements using less than, greater than, or equal to. All right, so here I have -4 and 6/10 and -4 and 65 hundredths. I know 6/10 is the same thing as this, 0.6, -4.6. I'll go ahead and put a placeholder 0 in there to help us with our comparing. 60 hundredths, 65 hundredths. Okay, the 4s are the same. The 6s are the same. So now I'm comparing the 0 and the 5. If they were positive, 5 would be bigger, but they're negative. So actually 5 is farther away from 0. It's going to be the smaller value. So -4 and 6/10 is greater than -4 and 65 hundredths. Okay, 15/8, 1 and 7/8. So let's make them the same form. One is improper and one is mixed number. I think I'll just make my improper into a mixed number and then I'll compare them. So let's see. 15 goes on the inside. 8 goes on the outside. 8 goes into 15 once. 1 times 8 is 8. 15 minus 8 is 7. So as a mixed number, that would be 1 and 7/8. And 1 and 7/8. So these two are going to be equal. All right, let's take a look at this next one. Add. I have same sign, so I'm going to find the sum. I have fractions, so I'm going to need a common denominator, which I already have. I can write them as mixed numbers, or I could do improper fraction. I think I'll do an improper fraction on this one. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7. So I have -7/5 plus -4/5. Same sign, find the sum. -7 plus -4 is -11. With addition, once we have that common denominator, that stays the same. That is the size of the piece. That part doesn't change. That's just how big your piece is. I have -11 of the 1/5 size pieces. Okay, and then I need to change that back into a mixed number. If you need to write it out, you can. 11 goes into 15 twice. 11 minus 10 is 1, so that is going to be 2 and 1/5, negative because it's negative. So I'll write it up here, negative 2 and 1/5. All right, let's take a look at number 5 here. So I have 65 hundredths plus negative 2 and 75 hundredths. Okay, so I have different signs. I'm going to find the difference. Same thing on these. I have different signs. I'm going to find the difference. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put my one with the greater absolute value on the top. When you're lining up decimals, you want to make sure that you do that. Greater absolute value is going to go on the top. Different signs, find the difference. So we're subtracting. 5 minus 5 is 0. 7 minus 6 is 1. 2 minus 0 is 2. More negatives, answer is negative. So negative 2.1, and I could put the 0, or I don't have to, I could leave the 0 off. Negative 2 and 1/10. All right, 2 and negative 7/2. Okay, so I can add them as mixed numbers, or I could make them improper fractions. I guess I'll make this one an improper fraction since I already have one as an improper fraction, 2 over 1. Then I need a common denominator, so I'm going to multiply them both by 2. I'm going to do my work down here. So I have 4 halves plus negative 7 halves. Different signs, find the difference. 7 minus 4 is 3. More negatives, answer is negative. Negative 3 halves. And then I need to make that into a mixed number. That would be negative 1 and 1/2. That would be my answer for there. All right. Number 6, evaluate the expression when A equals 1/2 and B equals negative 5 halves. And our expression is B plus 4A. That means 4 times A. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this one in. So B was negative 5 halves. For A means 4 times 1/2. I'm going to go, since I have fraction multiplication, I'm just going to write that 4 as a 4 over 1. All right, order of operations, I do multiplication first before I do addition. 4 times 1 is 4. 1 times 2 is 2. I'm going to leave it as 4 halves, even though I know it's an improper fraction, because this other part that I have to add to it is also in halves. Okay, different signs, find the difference. 5 minus 4 is 1. More negatives, answer is negative. My denominator stays the same. So negative 1/2 is my answer for that problem. All right, next one, add or subtract, write fractions in simplest form. Okay, so I have 6, I have negative 4 and 3/4, and I have negative 2 and 1/8. So I'm going to need to do 2 numbers at a time. I haven't done any on this particular sheet with adding with them as mixed numbers, so I'm going to go ahead and do that for this one. I'm going to do my 2 negatives first. Okay, I need a common denominator. I'm going to change it into eighths. So I'm going to change that times 2 times 2 to make that one negative 4 and 6/8. And I'm going to leave them as improper, or I'm going to leave them as mixed numbers, negative 2 and 1/8. Same signs, find the sum. 6/8 plus 1/8 is 7/8. Negative 4 plus negative 2 is negative 6. Negative 6 and 7/8. All right, and then I have this positive 6 to add. Different signs, find the difference, one with the greater absolute values on the top. 7/8 minus 0 is 7/8. 6 minus 6 is 0. More negatives, answer is negative. So negative 7/8 is going to be our answer on that one. All right, let's take a look at this one. The table shows the statistics of a running back in a football game. What is his total loss or gain for the game? Okay, so we need to add all of these numbers together. We've got some very large numbers here, so it's probably going to be a little bit easier for me to keep them as mixed numbers like I did in this problem than change them into improper fractions, because my improper fraction numbers are going to get really big really quickly. Okay, so I'm going to start by just doing same signs. So I'm going to add these two together, and I'm going to add these two together. So I'm basically using the commutative property. I'm just not taking the time to write all of those out. I do need a common denominator. I'm going to use fourths because I know that's in fourths. So before I add my two negatives, I'm going to have to do times 2 times 2. Okay, so negative 8, and then this is going to be 2/4 plus negative 2 and 1/4. Add those fractions first. 2/4 plus 1/4 is 3/4. Negative 8 plus negative 2 is negative 10. So 10 and 3/4 yards lost. Now I'm going to add my positives. 42.5 plus 23. 1/2 plus 0 is 1/2. 2 plus 3 is 5. 4 plus 2 is 6. So 65.5 yards gained. Okay, and so now I need to add these two numbers together. My two answers have to be added together. I do need a common denominator, so I'm going to take my 1/2. I'm going to do times 2 times 2. I'm going to write the one with the greater absolute value on the top. That's going to be the 65 and 2/4 plus a negative 10 and 3/4. Different signs, find the difference. All right, so here I have 2/4 minus 3/4. If I do 2/4 minus 3/4, I'm going to get a negative 1/4. Okay, so I need to do some borrowing. I'm going to change that 5 into a 4. I'm going to add 1 whole, which means 4/4. So now I have 6/4 minus 3/4. That's going to be 3/4. 4 minus 0 is 4. 6 minus 1 is 5. So what was his total loss or gain for the game? 54 3/4 yards gained. It's a gain because it's a positive number. So that's my answer right there, 54 3/4 yards gained. All right, let's try some subtraction. So I have negative 8 2/3 minus 6 1/6. Boom, change to addition. Boom, change the sign. Now I just did a couple problems with keeping them as mixed numbers. And actually, because this is the same sign and finding the sum, I think it's going to be easiest to keep them as mixed numbers again. It's really up to you. If you want to change them, you can, but it's going to be a lot less work on this problem to just keep them as mixed numbers. I do need a common denominator. I'm going to multiply by 2. Negative 8. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 2 is 6. Okay, and then this is plus negative 6 and 1/6. Okay, so same sign, find the sum. Okay, so 4/6 plus 1/6 is 5/6. 8 plus 6 is 14. Different signs. Same sign, both negative numbers. Answer is going to be negative. Negative 14 and 5/6. All right, number 10. Boom, change to addition. Boom, change the sign. Negative 3 and 75 hundredths plus positive 96 hundredths. Greater absolute value is written on top. You have different signs. You're going to find the difference. Okay, go ahead and take a moment, pause the video, try this on your own. Okay, let's check our answers. 5 minus 6 is going to take us into the negative, so we're going to borrow. That 7 is going to become a 6, and the 5 will become a 15. 15 minus 6 is 9. 6 minus 9 takes us into the negatives. We're going to have to borrow again. This is going to become a 2. This is going to become a 16. 16 minus 9 is 7. Bring down that decimal. 2 minus 0 is 2. More negatives. Answer's negative. Negative 2 and 79 hundredths. All right, let's take a look at number 11. Your sports drink bottle is 5/6 full. After practice, the bottle is 3/8 full. How much did you drink? Okay, so we need to find the difference between these two things because that's going to tell us how much we drank. All right, so 5/6 was what we started with. 3/8 is what we ended with. Okay, we're going to do boom, change to addition, boom, change the sign. We do need a common denominator. A good one for 6 and 8ths is 24ths. Okay. 6 times 4 is 24. So now we're going to do 5 times 4, which is 20. Okay, and then here we're multiplying by 3. 3 times 3 is 9, and 8 times 3 is 24. Okay, so let's see, 20 plus 9, oops, oh no, I almost forgot something. This minus sign, we did boom, boom. This is a negative 9. Oof, okay, so 20 plus negative 9. Same thing as 20 minus 9, which is 11. This one, we had enough to take away. We really didn't even need to do boom, boom. I just kind of did it out of habit. And then 24 minus 24 is the size. We're not subtracting those. It's just 11/24 of the bottle. Story problems do need a label. All right. There are 2 more problems to try here. Pause and try these on your own. Okay, let's check our answers. So 4/5 plus negative 3/10. I'm going to do tenths as my common denominator. That means I'm going to need to multiply these by 2. So that becomes 8/10 plus a negative 3/10. Different signs, find the difference. 8 minus 3 is 5. More positives, answer is positive. 10 is my denominator. That is not in simplest form. So I need to divide. Whoops, I wrote divided by 2. But what I meant to write was divided by 5. 5 does not divide by 2 evenly, so I can't do that. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 10 divided by 5 is 2. More positives, answer is positive, so my answer on that one is going to be a positive 1/2. All right, 3 and 92 hundredths plus 6 and 89 hundredths. Greater absolute values going on the top, and I'm going to line up those decimal points. All right, same sign, find the sum. 9 plus 2 is 11. Carry the 1. 1 plus 8 is 9. Plus another 9 is 18. Bring down that decimal point. Carry the 1. 1 plus 6 is 7. Plus 3 is 10. both negative numbers. That gives me a negative answer, negative 10 and 81 hundredths. All right, let's take a look at this next one. The temperature of a town is negative 4 and 7/10 degrees Celsius. The temperature decreases 5 and 4/10 degrees Celsius. What is the new temperature? Okay, so decreases means that it's going down. So it's like this, negative 4 and 7/10. And then we are subtracting, it's going down, 5 and 4/10. Or you can think of it as boom, boom, adding a negative. Same sign, find the sum. All right, I'm going to rewrite this with my greater absolute value on the top. My decimals lined up. 4 plus 7 is 11. 1 plus 5 is 6, plus 4 is 10. Both are negative. Answer is negative. Negative 10 and 1/10 degrees Celsius. All right, let's take a look at this next one. Here we have a division problem. 3 and 1/4 divided by negative 1 and 1/8. For multiplication or division, when we have mixed numbers or whole numbers, we need to make them improper fractions before we can do our operation. So 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 is 13 14ths. Divided by, I'm not going to do keep, change, flip just yet. I'm going to make my improper fractions first. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 1 is 9, so I have negative 9/8. Okay, now I'm ready for my keep, change, flip. 13/4 times negative 8/9. Keep, that's the same. Change to multiplication, flip. Okay, so I like to cross cancel, especially since I don't know 13 times negative 8 off the top of my head. But I do know divided by 8 and 4 divided by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. Negative 8 divided by 4 is negative 2. I do know 13 times negative 2 off the top of my head. And so, lost my pen again there. 13 times negative 2 is negative 26. And then divided by 9. So 9 times 1 is 9. All right, so now I have negative 26/9. Different signs. Answer is negative for multiplication and division. That's our rule. I do need to make that into a mixed number. I'm going to go ahead and write out the division just for the people that like to see it. 9 goes into 26 2 times. 9 times 2 is 18. I've got to borrow here. This becomes a 16. 16 minus 8 is 8. 1 minus 8 is 1. So I have 2 and 8/9. And this is really negative because this is a negative number. So going back up here to my answer blank, negative 2 and 8/9. Okay, so let's take a look at our next problem here. So I have negative 4 and 8/10 times negative 5 and 2/10. So for this one, we're going to write the numbers vertically. Multiplication with decimals, you do not need to worry about bigger absolute value on the top. You write the one with the most digits on the top. This one, both numbers have 2 digits. So it doesn't really matter. I just chose to write the first one first. Okay, you're going to multiply it as if it is 48 times 52. And then when you get to your answer, you're going to put 2 decimals in. Go ahead and pause and try it on your own. Okay, let's check our answers. 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. Cross that out so don't use it again. Add a 0 as a placeholder. 8 times 5 is 40. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 4 is 24. Add these values together. So 6 plus 0 is 6. 9 plus 0 is 9. 4, 2, 1, 2 decimals in the problem, 1, 2 decimals in the answer. Same sign, answer is positive. So my answer here is going to be 24 and 96/100. All right, let's take a look at this next one. 10/3 times -3 and 3/5 times -3. All right, I need to make that mixed number an improper fraction. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 3 is 18, so I have -18/5 times 10/3 times -3. This one needs to be an improper fraction too, over 1. All right, so I've got some big numbers. Again, I'm going to cross cancel just because I like cross canceling. And I'm going to do 2 at a time because I think that's going to be easier on me. So I'm going to start by just multiplying these first two. 10 divided by 5 is 2. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 3 divided by 3 is 1. -18 divided by 3 is -6. So to multiply these two together, 2 times -6 is -12. 1 times 1 is 1. So I have -12 over 1 times -3 over 1. Really, I can forget about those over 1s. They don't really matter. Divided by 1 just means that same number. -12 times -3 is going to be a positive 36. Same signs. Answer is positive for multiplication and division. So my answer for this one is going to be 36. All right, let's try this. Why don't you pause the video, try these next two on your own. Okay, let's check our answers. First step, again, is to make these into improper fractions. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. That's going to be a -10/3 times. 10 times 2 is 20, plus 7 is 27. -27 over 10. Okay, so I can multiply straight across, or I can cross cancel. I've got some pretty big numbers, so I'm going to cross cancel here. 27 divided by 3 is 9, so I'm going to just change that into a -9. 3 divided by 3 is 1. And then the 10s cross cancel as well. 10 divided by 10 is 1. -10 divided by 10 is -1. -1 times -9 is +9. And 1 times 1 is 1. So my answer to this one is going to be 9. All right, -1/4 times +1/8. Different signs, our answer is going to be negative. If it helps you to rewrite that negative sign to be up in the numerator, you can. -1 times 1 is -1. 4 times 8 is 32. Okay, and our last problem here. Fill in the blanks to complete the problem. Write the name of the property next to each step. Okay, so first thing I look for when I have problems that have multiple numbers is, are there any inverses? So I have 4, -4/5, +4/5. Those two are inverses. I'm going to write them next to each other. The property I used to do that was the commutative property. That changes the order. Okay, so now I'm going to combine those. When I cancel out those inverses, those equal 0. That's the inverse property. Okay, then I need to add. So I've got -5/6 plus +2/3. I do need a common denominator, so I'm going to multiply these by 2. So I have -5/6 plus 4/6. Different signs. Find the difference. 5 minus 4 is 1. 6. More negatives. Answer is negative. -1/6 is our final answer.